Talking about God's creation theory, we cannot overlook the Old Testament of the Jewish people. In the Old Testament, the Jewish people explain why they truly believe in the existence of God. For thousands of years, they call themselves the only people chosen by God. What has made them steadfast in their belief? That God will grant them a just and peaceful place, a beautiful, happy homeland. All these issues can be answered in the Bible. Hello everyone. I am Global Anomalies. Today we will explain the standard God's creation theory. Also, we will address some questions from the audience. Many people are pondering an issue. Why has the West for thousands of years to always steadfastly believe that God truly exists? What has God done that makes them believe so? Or to say that if God truly exists, then where are you? Who has ever seen you? If you are the creator, then this universe is indeed created by you. Can you make the sky thunder, rain fall, or winds blow? To show a little to those called the worldly. If he cannot achieve the above, what reason does he have to make others believe that God exists? In order to deal with such doubts, today we will talk about the Old Testament. Before we begin, I would like to remind the audience a bit. Throughout history, there have been many who doubted God. The kings who opposed the Jewish people all suffered terrible disasters. In fact, the Bible became the main belief in the West because God revealed himself to his people more than once. Although I do not have a religious faith, I always maintain a respectful attitude towards religious issues. I always keep a respectful mindset. Alright, now I will explain the covenant between God and humanity. The stories in the Bible have many chapters, but their order is not chaotic. All myths and legends in the world all have a strange phenomenon. Ydidal Abram, Dmaid servant Abram, and that is the chaos ants and me, Haises, and the stories that are more ancient. There will be many versions passed down. Many people also interpret them. Therefore, the Bible is a unique entity. Its story has a very clear sequence, and there are no deviations. Creation of heaven, earth, and humanity. Humans and the divine coexist. Humanity violated the covenant. The great flood, humanity and the divine separated. Once again protected by God. Once again violating the covenant. Once again sheltered. Finally connects to the history of humanity. All of these sequences are interconnected seamlessly. All of these sequences are interconnected seamlessly. Here, it records the creation of all things in mythology. Just like the creation of man. After creating man, we entered the ancient era where man and God coexisted. Finally, there was the great flood, the severance of the connection between heaven and earth. Man and God are separated. After the severance, historical figures also emerge. Therefore, the Bible can seamlessly connect with history, and the era of important prophets in history. Many people witnessed the occurrence of miracles. The reason the Jewish people believe that God is real, it is because throughout the long history, God often appeared before their people, frequently offering them help, and the purpose of these appearances. This is also why the Jewish people must adhere to the covenant, so that they may believe that they are the only people chosen by God. This is also the uniqueness of the Bible. So the next part of my story, based on the Old Testament and the New Testament of Jesus Christ, will not be explained in this video, because Judaism does not recognize the status of Christianity, as they believe that Jesus did not lead the Jewish people to a peaceful world as prophesied. Furthermore, the Christianity of Jesus embraced Gentiles. This is what God would not agree to. God only helps his chosen people. At the beginning of the century, the universe was still in chaos. God created heaven and earth. Heaven and earth were submerged in darkness, rising and falling. God said, "Let there be light." From that point, light and darkness are clearly divided. Day and night alternate. The sky stands above the ocean. Clouds float in the sky. The mountain range rises above the water. At the foot of the mountain are vast fields. The land is lush and green everywhere. Trees flourish and thrive. But the land was still lacking in vibrant life. God continued to use his creative power. In the vast ocean, different types of fish appeared. Birds of different shapes and colors flew in the sky. At this point, God thought it was still not enough. Then, in his likeness, he created the first man, Adam. Currently, many people believe in the unified theory, assuming that all of humanity in the world is created by one creator. When we talk about the creation theory of extraterrestrial beings, mentioned Enki and Nyingma, if I say, suppose Enki is Pengu, then everyone in the world could be one group of gods, or it was created by the same deity. After Lilith left, God could feel Adam's loneliness. He took one of Adam's ribs to create Eve. Then, God arranged for them to live in the Garden of Eden, living a free life like in paradise. But God forbade Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden to steal the fruit of the tree of knowledge. No one expected. The fallen angel who rebelled transformed into a venomous snake, tempting Eve to pick the fruit of knowledge. Eve shared the fruit with Adam. From then on, the two could distinguish good from evil. The concept of moral ethics had emerged. When God knew the two had violated the prohibition to gain wisdom, he expelled the two from the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden. They relied on each other on the earth. They started having children. As humanity gradually grew more numerous, the deceitfulness of humanity began to surface. Some, out of jealousy, killed their own kin. Some, desiring a companion, harmed their own kind. Humanity began to decline. The entire earthly realm echoed with cries. Like hell. God witnessed the ugliness of humanity firsthand. He decided to use a flood to cleanse this land. But for the innocent creatures, he could not bear to. Therefore, he chose a good man named Noah. He entrusted him to build a large ark. Later, Noah took his family, carrying seeds of plants, many items in pairs such as livestock, birds, and beasts. brought onto the ark. The flood also came at the right moment. Noah, who always believed in God, saved their family and many species of animals. But many beings and the descendants of the fallen angels, night, could not withstand the torrential rain for 40 days and nights. The flood also submerged the highest mountains. Therefore, apart from the life on Noah's ark, other beings have perished. Drifting on the vast ocean, not knowing how long has passed. The world has gone through a long period of purification and cleansing. God finally calmed down. When Noah stepped out onto the deck of the ark, he looked at the waters slowly receding. A new era had begun, and Noah's descendants would begin a new life on this land. God and the creatures led by Noah had reconciled. God also instructed Noah, from now on not to allow humanity to continue to fall into sin. To bear witness to these covenants, humanity must initiate faith. The prerequisite for initiating faith must surely be someone who can hear the call of God, and can sincerely and steadfastly follow him. He will guide the remaining humanity to always believe in God. It is also because of this request. In different eras, a very important prophet of Judaism always appeared. The high priest or the mediator. Then Noah and God. The first covenant of humanity was established. With the passage of time, Noah's people built another Tower of Babel. They had offended God. God confused the languages of humanity. People could not understand each other due to language barriers. Then it was scattered, to develop their own civilization. After the legend ended, the Old Testament that follows is a collection of historical stories. Many years later, in a wilderness, a man named Abraham appeared. This also involves overlooking mythology. No translation available, context needed. The first prophet in history spoke with God. God allowed him to lead his people, to go to the promised land of Canaan, strong and happy, to build a strong and happy nation. He would also become the patriarch of a great nation. When he accomplished these things, God would allow his descendants to be as numerous as the stars in the sky. Abraham, who had spoken with God, anxiously returned home to meet his wife, Sarah. Later, he called his nephew Lot. He told them that God would guide them to a new homeland. That was Abraham, because he had no children. Therefore, he cherished this nephew very much. And in this era, the migration of a family also holds great significance. But for the descendants of future generations, for descendants as numerous as the stars, Abraham's wife, Sarah, supported his decision. Although Lot's wife strongly opposed, he still decided to go with his uncle. Later, they brought their families along, starting the long journey to migrate. Along the way, they had to eat and sleep outdoors. Very arduous. Conflicts within the tribe were also increasing. When they arrived in the land of Canaan, the people in the nephew's family, feeling that this land is too small, completely unable to meet everyone's needs. Therefore, the people of Lot's nephew, they fought with the people of Abraham. Because of the dense population, the land was too small. Due to a lack of food and other reasons, Lot's wife suggested taking his family and leaving this place. Facing his wife's anger and the demands of his followers, Lot ultimately informed Abraham they wanted to leave this place. At that time, Abraham had no children. Lot grew up with him since childhood. So, Lot, the time to actually leave. Abraham, like an old and weak father, watching his nephews drift farther away, his inner self was in great agony. At this moment, he was also doubting God. Why come to the promised land, yet unable to protect his entire family? As for me, how could I possibly become the patriarch of a great nation? However, after a brief moment of doubt, he remained steadfast in his faith in God. Then, God appeared in a battle, helping him rescue his nephew Lot from the kingdom of Canaan. At that time, Lot was captured by a powerful group of outsiders. After Abraham communicated with God, he led a small group of people to defeat the strong and numerous outsiders. God manifested once again to rescue his family. However, his nephew Lot still did not want to return to Canaan with him. Abraham's heart must have been very sorrowful. He always regarded Lot as his own son. Even though he had kept him like that many times, he still did not want to return to his family. This was also something that Abraham could not accept. The most important thing is that Lot disagreed with his faith. Even when God had appeared before him, he still felt that God was a non-existent being. Therefore, Abraham disappointedly returned to the camp. At night, he looked up at the starry sky alone. He also wanted to discuss with God once again, asking God about the things he had promised him. When would those things be fulfilled? When would his descendants be able to, as numerous as the stars in the sky? On the other hand, his wife Sarah knew Abraham longed to have a child of his own, but she could not bear children, unable to meet the expectations of the other party. Therefore, Sarah devised a turnaround plan to let his maidservant Hagar live with her husband. This lasted for 14 years. The maidservant Hagar bore a son for Abraham and named him Ishmael. When the child was born, some were happy, while others were worried. Everyone can surely understand. Meanwhile, Sarah was sad. One day, she encountered God's messenger. This messenger is the embodiment of an angel. He spoke to Sarah. God promised that her child would be born soon. Remember to name him Isaac, which means laughter. God does not like her cries. After delivering the message, the messenger sought out Abraham and informed them that they need to go to Sodom, because the people there are immersed in lust and depravity. They do not hesitate in same-sex love. The entire city is filled with sinful desires. This is also the reason why God cannot look directly at this sinful city.